All right, y'all. Back to a segment that Rob started last week after seeing the glorious Earth, Wind, and Fire live. We're going to come back to it this week. Talk about a couple games we haven't talked about yet, just a little briefly. Earth, Wind, and Fire, we talk about the best rushing team, the best passing, and that's Wind. And then Fire is the defense because obviously Earth has to be ground game, right?
Yeah.
So, Rob, start it off with us, man.
All right. So for Earth, a little bit of a surprise this week. We
I'd
have,
say.
well, a surprise on who won it and a surprise on
Yeah,
who
yeah.
won the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Earth is going to go to Chase Edmonds, the pass catching running back, and the Arizona Cardinals against a what we thought was a very tough Rams defense. Chase picked up 120 yards on only 12 rushing attempts. Now, for those of you who math might not be your strong suit, that is 10 yards per carry. That is a first down on average every time you hand the ball off to Chase Edmonds. That is insane. When you see double digits, you expect it to be like 3, 4, 5 carries and they just broke one off. This is 12 rushing attempts, averaging 10 per. That's big. His breakaway that pulled that stat up was, of course, a 54-yard breakaway run. And we're not going to demean that or take that away in any shape or form because this run happened when they had their backs against their own end zone. This was a critical run for him to pull off. James Conner also picked up 2 rushing touchdowns this game in what was a pretty shocking rout, is the only way that I know how to describe it. A rout of who we thought was the best team in the NFL. The team that I last week sat here and so boldly said this is the Super Bowl favorite. They got dumpstered by the Arizona Cardinals.
You even convinced me, man. I was believing.
I convinced myself. I say a lot of things on this podcast that I don't mean, and I meant that. I meant that. I convinced myself. And the Cardinals just dominated. This game was never even close, which blows my mind. The Rams defense is not performing like the Rams defense this year. I don't know what is wrong with them, but they don't look good. I don't know how you have 2 of like the best defensive players in the league and put up such a weak defensive performance. Kyler Murray, MVP frontrunner. This team is a serious contender. And congratulations to Chase Edmonds, James Conner, and the Arizona Cardinals. You are this week's Earth. Who is our Wind, Zach?
So this week, much to my dismay, our wind is actually going to be Daniel Jones. Not because he had the flashiest statistics or the most fantasy points, but he clutched out a dub almost by himself. I mean, him and Saquon together, obviously, but he finally clutched it out, kind of showed the reason why he was the 6th overall pick a couple years ago. So wind is going to Daniel Jones and the New York Giants after beating my boy, Jameis Winston, and his Saints in overtime. And that was after they came back from an 11-point deficit in the 4th quarter, which is kind of bananas because I don't associate the Saints with blowing leads, especially not in the 4th, but they did. And after winning the toss, Jabril Peppers, a Michigan guy, and I'm a Michigan fan, so mad respect. But I mean, Rob, if you want to mention it real quick,
we're a PG podcast, so I can't say exactly what he said, but let's just say he was extremely excited about winning the coin toss. He may have dropped an MF bomb into the referee's mic, which was then broadcast to the entire stadium and all of the fans watching at home. I almost choked from laughing. Oh my God, that was so funny. It goes to show how stacked the overtime rules are against the coin toss winner. Basically, He said, "Okay, we win. Cool, thanks for showing up."
And that's kind of the sad truth about it. But that's for a different podcast as well. We can talk all about how inefficient the NFL rules and referees are. Mm-hmm. But to finish it off, statistically, Jones went 28 for 40, almost 75% completion percentage. That's pretty good. 402 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. He wouldn't be Daniel Jones without a turnover, so I'm just going to forgive him for it. 4 different receivers had over 70 yards, so the distribution of his passes was pretty efficient and thorough as well.
And,
what about Fire? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, as a last note, he was the only quarterback to throw for over 400 yards this
week.
Yeah. So Fire, this one's going to be pretty quick. We pretty much knew how this game was going to end. The Bills defense, this was a blowout. This is the second team that the Bills have said, yeah, sit down. Take a seat. Take a seat. A huge 40-0 blowout. The Bills have started doing this to some teams. Like, the Bills are, I get why they call them the Bills Mafia. They're just bullying people. Like, I need to get like a guidance counselor to sit down and talk to these guys' parents. Like, they are just bullying out on that football field. It's crazy. David Mills of the Houston Texans barely throws over 50% completion, 0 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Now, it's Davis Mills. I mean, I'm not going to go ahead and like pump him up and pretend like he should be a starter. But, man, Bills, 5 forced turnovers in this game. 5. Really? Nothing more to talk about. Just an absolute demolishing on behalf of the Bills defense. Good job, Bills.
I have like a real life story that I can use as a comparison that's really quick. When I was in 7th grade, I once asked a girl out through a note because she had already rejected me in person 2 or 3 times. So I wrote a note and I had it passed down to the end of the row that I was sitting in. And of course I was at the very end and she was at the other end. So everyone knew what was happening. And she very politely said, "No, I just think of you as a friend." But somebody halfway through on the way back wrote in big bold letters, "Ha ha, she doesn't like you." That was the real life situation with the Bills and the Texans. I was Davis Mills and the Texans, and the Bills were Mariah. That was the person who wrote "ha ha."
Did you just? Oh, okay. I was like, did you just name drop this girl? Oh,
no, I didn't say her last name. No, I didn't say her last name.
Okay.
I don't care.
I'm not going to edit that part out. I'll maybe just have the volume go like really low during that part.
No, who cares? Who cares? She'll never listen to this. She laughed at me for getting rejected. She doesn't want to see me succeed.
Oh my God. And on that note, I think it's time to move on to some positive things in the awards section. Our first award this week is the Thanos Fine. I'll do it myself award. And this goes to Tyreek Hill for being the entire Chiefs receiving corps. The Chiefs may have won 42-30 against the Eagles, but don't think that any of the other receivers had anything to do with that. Anytime your defense allows Jalen Hurts and the Eagles to put up almost 400 passing yards, you know you're going to need to put some points up. Hill had 11 catches for 186 yards and 3 touchdowns. He is the Derrick Henry of receiving. The closest receiver, this was the thing that blew my mind. The second receiver was Travis Kelce with 4 receptions for 23 yards. Now, I don't know. I just feel like there's a little bit of a cliff between 186 yards for 3 touchdowns and 23 yards. There's just a little bit of a cliff between those two players. Tyreek did everything. He was the offense. He was also the defense. Their defensive strategy was just score so much that Jalen Hurts couldn't keep up. Pitch and catch, baby.
The second award that we're handing out this week is the "It's time to retire" award. That sounded more like Bane than it did as a 75-year-old man. But
Bane needed to retire as well, so that's fair.
That was a very old Bane, is what that was. So it's the "It's time to retire" award, and we are awarding that to Ben Roethlisberger. He should have won this award every week, but we just came up with it this week. So, I'm sure you guys saw that the Packers beat the Steelers 27-17. And it's gotten to the point where Mike Tomlin has to publicly defend Ben Roethlisberger. He did a press conference today and said, Ben is our best option. All it did was show that it's not going to get any better. Ben should have retired last year. Honestly, after he suffered that elbow injury, he should have retired because that was a career-threatening injury. He lost all of his arm strength. He's a little accurate, but now he can barely move. He's not getting younger. The Steelers are kind of a bad team for the first time in who knows how long, since I've been, I don't know, following football pretty religiously since like
Fun fact:
2002.
Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season.
Yeah, he's the worst he's ever been was 8-8.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. But
First time
and
for
don't get me
everything.
yeah, exactly. This will be that year. And it's like, don't get me wrong, and I'm sure you feel stronger about this than I
Oh,
do, Rob,
absolutely.
but it's nice that the Steelers are holding on to Ben and doing poorly, but they should have moved on. And they didn't. So now the Steelers are stuck.
Hmm. Next up, we have the Lamar Jackson Broken Ankles Award. This one goes to Trevor Lawrence for double tapping the joysticks up, down, left, right, A, B, A, B, and throwing a disgusting juke move and getting a touchdown against the Bengals. It looked like the exact juke that you see in Madden games. It's that thing where you run up and then you just like magically jump horizontally. It looked exactly like the juke from the games. It was hilarious. Bengals defender didn't have a chance of getting that tackle. Free walk in for Trevor Lawrence. Congratulations on breaking ankles and making our highlight reel.
Happy for Trevor, man. I'm rooting for his success going forward. I want all these rookie QBs to succeed. The next one is the Galaxy Brain Award. Now, this goes to Hunter Renfro. And honestly, Rob, I know we do that thing where we alternate every time, but you were such a fan of this play and you showed me this play. I want you to talk about it.
Okay, yeah. So this was a really interesting play. So there is a punt. The Chargers are punting against the Raiders. And then it turns out to be a fake punt, and they throw it to their tight end. I believe it was number 87. Now, the interesting part about this is that the Raiders messed up. They only had 10 players on the field. The player who happened to be missing was the player who was covering the left gunner of the Chargers. So the person who's supposed to chase down the punt and stop them from gaining yards. So the Chargers see that they're missing a player and they see where he's missing. The punter calls an audible to do a fake punt pass and try to get the first down. Hunter Renfro sees what's happening. He sees, hey, we just screwed up, and we just screwed up in a way that's about to turn a punt into a touchdown for the Chargers. He hears this audible, and he starts charging before the snap towards the wide open gunner. Now, once this pass is snapped, the punter throws the pass to the gunner. He catches it and starts to turn around, and Hunter Renfro summons his inner Ray Lewis and absolutely demolishes
Popped him.
the gunner, pops him,
Popped
puts
him.
the helmet right on the ball, pops the ball out, and stops what would have been a devastating fourth down conversion. The game was already out of control in the first half. This would have made it even worse. That was just such a big brain play by Hunter Renfro to see what was happening, to recognize an audible had been called, and then to go and make a beautiful form tackle as a wide receiver. That was incredibly impressive. I suspect that it could have been related to two cornerback injuries that the Raiders have. I suspect one of them was probably supposed to be on the field covering the gunner, and they just didn't realize that he was injured. I haven't been able to confirm that yet, but Hunter Renfro really kept that game competitive, even though it never really got truly competitive, but he kept it from being a bad blowout. So
Yeah. Yeah,
Galaxy
that's what I was
Brain
gonna
Hunter
say.
Renfro saves the day again.